All right, we are High Five Media, and we make monsters. That's our tagline. And we'd like to start really quick. We're going to introduce ourselves in just a second, but we would like to know who you are. So on a count of three, everybody say their name. 1, 2, 3. You didn't say your name. Shelley? Let's just start really quick and give you guys 2 minutes to meet somebody brand new in here. Ready? Go.
Should I be on mic?
All right, everybody. Come back, come back. We're going to find out who you met. No, I'm joking. So, my name is Jim Maines. I'm with High Five Media. I'm also a Vice President of Identity Clark County, and I'm an executor at the estate of Ed and Dolly Lynch. And this is...
Hi, I'm Temple Lentz, and I am also a partner in High Five Media, and I have been an executive for local nonprofits, and I'm currently business director for the Heather DeFord Group at Sotheby's, among other things, and I sit on a few boards as well.
Good morning, I'm Nolan Buccino. I also work at High Five Media, and I make things look pretty. That's basically my job. And supposed to be retired, but can't be fully retired. But I get involved with things in the community as much as I can. But a little backstory about Give More 24. In leadership Clark County in 2014, it was actually our community project. So I was there from the very beginning, from learning, developing a marketing plan, developing the logo, developing the whole gamut of a giving day. So I'm super excited to see this little seed of an idea grow 4 years later into this huge giving day that raises thousands and thousands of dollars. So I welcome the new members who are participating for the first time this year. If you have any questions, just ask one of us, or there's several nonprofits around the area who participated in all 4 years, or just a couple of years, but have some great ideas. And to go out there and look at some of the examples from past years of what they did to raise money. So to get things started, we'll hand it over to Jim.
So we're going to kind of cover a few different things. We're going to talk about your story, creating your story, and that's a little bit about before you actually post. So before you post anything, whether it's a video, whether it's the new Instagram or Facebook story, someone already talked a little bit about kind of creating the story, and then even before creating the story, just some tips for kind of setting up for that post. And we're going to talk about impacting. So obviously social media, no one's going to hit on Facebook, Instagram, among other things, and then educating your followers how to continue that follow through, how to keep them engaged, how to set up for actual Give More 24 and the day of the event. So talk a little bit about stories and preparing, kind of the setup behind the scenes. You want to always think about keeping it, really, you want to impact them so that they're going to remember your story. And what I like to ask or tell people is, or to think about, is would you read your own post? So if you're laying in bed, you're on your iPad, which I don't do that, and you're just kind of going through social media and you see posts, what engages you? Think about that. What makes you stop and look at that post or read that post? The other side of it, what videos do you watch? Right? What video draws your attention? And it's really important to even think about how long do you watch a video on social media? When does that video start to turn you off? When are you like, oh, and you move on to the next video? Those are really important things to think about Because if you're involved in your organization, that means the people that follow your organization, that give to your organization, that volunteer with your organization, are probably going to be just as focused. If you work with children, and there's videos about kids that you're really engaged with, I guarantee you others that support your organization are probably going to be engaged with that same theme or that same type of video. And again, same goes with posts. So think about how you set it up and what draws your attention. Also, actually, I'm going to jump here on another kind of topic similar. Recently on Facebook, was it the Pentatonics, is that their name? They're playing that. How many people are at the concert? Oh, you're excited. Sorry, I'm not going to do any of my acapella, but it's amazing. On Facebook, the day they were here at the amphitheater, there was a few different posts I noticed. And I like to track when people post and how many people are engaged and how many people are actually looking at the video. And what was really interesting to me is a lot of people post live footage of them singing, right, at the amphitheater. But the one that got the most views, at least through my friends, was somebody posted the line at the park and ride in Salmon Creek. And I watched that video go from like 10 views to like 300 views. Just in a, I mean, people are just like, what? And it was this quick, like maybe 45-second video, and the person's just walking through the line, and then it's like he turns, and you're like, oh my gosh, it keeps going and going, I mean, around the whole place. And if you think about it, there's a story there. One, it tells you how amazing this band is. Two, it tells you how many people don't want to pay for parking. And to see that enthusiasm on a day that was like 98 degrees, and people about the band, just to see that line was really impactful. And so again, something that you wouldn't really think, oh, it's a line going to a concert. There's an entire story there. So think about how, especially on the day of Give More 24, what kind of live video would really impact people. And Temple and I are going to do something kind of fun here in just a second to show you how you would set up for a live video, because a lot of people, and I hear this a lot from nonprofits, they don't realize that there's actual work that goes behind the scenes of setting up a live video. They just think, go live, right? So we want to show you a little bit about how you would set up for that. And so the other one is, you know, keeping it simple. When we first started doing campaigns and marketing, I remember they would tell you that you want to keep the reading level to around 10th grade. They'd always say, 10th grade reading level, you want to grab them, you want to build impact, and that's what people will kind of pay attention. I just heard someone say 6th. I mean, it probably is 6th, I mean, especially when you look at things happening nationally, but really, it's probably, I believe you've heard it's a 7th grade reading level. So at a 7th grade reading level, you really will be able to impact the widest variety. Now, part of it, I feel like, well, that's sad to see, where, you know, we've been in the business for maybe a decade and to see it going that direction. But you do want to be careful because you don't want to have all this language or verbiage and stuff that's just going to lose people. You want to grab their attention, you want them to be impacted, and then, you know, that's where that engagement begins. So 7th grade reading level, and also the attention span of someone on social media or online is now 3 to 5 seconds. I remember when I was speaking at an event, gosh, I think it was like in 2000, I was with Nolan, I think it was when we first started, back in like 2012, 13, it was more like 25 to 30 seconds. Like people would get on a website and kind of look through the website. Now they're like, people don't even get on a website anymore. They'll be on social media and maybe they'll go to your website depending on how well you grab their attention. And Nolan was telling me it's kind of like, it's quicker than the attention span of a goldfish. So think about that, right? You want to grab their attention. So again, going back to Facebook Live or any of those stories, a lot of times the biggest problem people have is they go live and then it's like this. And you see like the floor, you see all this stuff as they're getting ready, and then finally you see and they're like, am I on? You know, people, I mean, how many people are going to pay attention to that? They're going to just move right on. So you want to have a little bit of planning. We're going to talk about, we'll kind of show you a little bit about that here. And also remember your audience. Again, it's so important. If you're trying to reach a 2.5-year-old like my son, you'll want Thomas the Train. If you're trying to reach high schoolers, you're gonna want something completely different. If you want to reach athletes, something completely different. Soccer moms, something completely different. All across the line. You have to think of your audience, right? Because a 14-year-old is not gonna pay attention to Thomas the Train. But my son is not gonna pay attention to somebody just talking. So you've gotta look at who's your audience, what's the best way to impact them, and then you wanna set that up. So Temple, we're gonna show you really quick, Nolan's gonna go a little bit deeper into setting it up and how to do it on your phone and stuff, but we're actually going to do a quick live video here on Facebook, and we're gonna show you how to set it up. So when you wanna go live, you open it up. How many people have actually gone live or posted a live video or live story on Facebook? Okay, wow, all right. So hopefully you guys will get something out of this, and then by that, Janet, you'll do it tonight, I promise. So you open up to where you want to create a post on your Facebook page, and they give you options where you can post a video, you can tag people, you can check in somewhere, and then it says live video. It's pretty easy. So then you'll click live, and it'll pop up. Oh, interesting. So I've got 415 friends currently online right now. So those are people that maybe will watch us when we go live. So what's nice, when you go live, it shows you the screen where you can set it up, and you can see it's on. Now, a lot of people will just hit start live video, right? And they have no idea what they're doing.
That mean we're on if we just hit live video?
No, see, and that's why I think people get nervous. They think it's on right now, but see, I mean, it's showing, right, the screen. You can probably see me. Hi. Was that right? Okay. But you see the button that says start live video? When you hit start live video, then it'll have a 3-second countdown, and then you're live. So what happens though, people kind of freak out, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm live. And I know a lot of people that record in this setting, and it's not recording. And then when they hit start live video, thinking they're turning it off, all you see is the video of them putting it back in the pocket. Right? So so what we're gonna do is welcome everybody to the Give More 24 workshop, and Temple's going to do that, but I want to show you how we're going to set it up. We're going to make it look like it's completely on the fly, but it's not. We actually practice.
And this is actually really important. We don't necessarily, as High Five Media, we don't always practice as much as perhaps some would say we should.
Like this entire workshop. Joking.
Joking. No, but joking, not joking. But just thinking through what you want to do is really important, because it's, as those of you who are professionals in your field, you know that it's easy for somebody who doesn't do what you do to say, oh, I could do that, and then they try and they kind of fail because they don't actually know how to do it. And what you have is the ability to understand your work and your audience and think through what you want to do and make it look spontaneous, make it look original, and like you are just on it all the time. And it doesn't take long. You don't need to have like a storyboard for a Facebook Live video, but just spend a few minutes thinking through what you want to do, what you want to say. You don't need to have a script, but have your points available. It just makes it so much better for everybody. You do better, you feel better about what you're posting, your audience is going to stick around longer.
And so another piece, and Tom was totally right on, in that setup phase before you actually go live, you want to practice, which we're going to do right now and show you, because the lighting could be completely off. How many times have you seen a Facebook Live video where it's completely dark? You know, and they can't tell because maybe it's really sunny out and it's bright and they're like, well, I think I see you. So you want to make sure you go through that quick practice so that you know it looks good on camera, and you actually want to practice where you're going to actually film when you're going live. So we're going to set up. Tubble's going to welcome everybody to here, and then we're going to turn to you guys, and it's going to be totally spontaneous. Everyone's going to, what should we say? Give more 24? Or
Give more 24.
Give more 24, and we'll all applaud. How's that sound? Well, first, maybe we should practice that. So on a count of 3, everybody say, give more 24. 1, 2, 3.
Give more 24.
And now, yep, there it is. And then we'll applaud. All right, so now this is our practice. Here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm Temple Lentz with High Five Media here with Jim Maines and Nolan Hoshino, and we're giving a presentation for Give More 24 with a bunch of representatives from local nonprofits to learn about how to expand their reach on social media. We're going to show you this room. It is full of some incredible people.
Give More 24!
And see. Okay, so totally like sporadic. I mean, that was amazing. Spontaneous, sporadic.
Sporadic means maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Should I let everybody know this one? I should let you all know I'm on some medications. Okay, so I am really.
It's antibiotics. What
I
is your
know.
problem?
So that I'm gonna feel a little loopy if I don't drink enough water, and I am just feeling off. All right, are we ready? Are we ready to do this for real?
All right.
I'm gonna put this mic down because I noticed the drugs I'm on is causing me to shake. All right, here we go.
I took some Tylenol this morning and it was killing me, you guys.
They make fun of me all the time.
Okay, you guys ready?
Here we go.
Get in your zone.
3-second countdown. Nope, maybe longer.
Hey everybody, I'm Temple Lentz with High Five Media here with Jim Maines and Nolan Hoshino, and we're giving a workshop today for Give More 24. Coming up in September, we're here with a bunch of representatives from local nonprofits to talk about how to expand reach on social media. You need to check this room out because these are some incredible people.
Give More 24!
So in that quick 30 seconds, we had 3 people pop on. Woo! So we'll check in later to see how many views. All right, so moving right along, some quick guidelines. When we think about video, when you think about your posts, first, remind people of the problem. Make sure that you get to the point. You want to engage and grab them so that people don't get lost. And so reminding them of the problem is important, and what your organization offers. Avoid insider talk. I mean, that kind of wraps up a lot of what we already talked about today when it comes to connectivity, your audience. Sometimes we can get lost in insider talk, right? We can talk about the CRC and the RTC and how they're all getting together and meeting with C-Tran. I mean, a lot of people have no idea what all that even means. So you got to think about how you're engaging people, the words you're using, and again, that 7th grade level. Focus on benefits, not the features. What are the benefits, right, of what you're offering? How are you going to impact them? There was a story that ran a few days ago in the paper that was perfect timing. It's hot, it's 93, 95, 100 degrees, and shared house needs water, right? You have a lot of people on the street, they need water, and send in water bottles, donate water bottles. The timing's right, that impacts people because they're hot, right? I remember my mom called me, where do I send my water bottles, right? Because it really impacted her, and that timing it worked. So again, the benefits, not the features, keep it simple. We talked about that. Engage the readers. Again, highlight people, not programs. Stories are so impactful. I can't tell you, since I've had my son, those military videos always hit me. When the parent comes home and the child for the first time sees their mom or dad, you got to think through everybody has that kind of a story within their organization where it's going to hit people on that emotional level. Someone's going to talk a little bit about that in just a second. And be consistent. If you have a theme, stick with your theme. Don't be all over the place, especially between now and Give More 24. Focus on the outcome you want and lead people to that outcome. Temple?
Hi, okay. So we're going to move into talking about how to find your stories and some of the components of a story. Before we do that, and this isn't in our slideshow because this is from an email list that I'm on that I just got last night. And so with High Five Media, I'm our content person, and I do most of the writing and most of the structuring of the language communications that we do. So I do want to say that when we talk about keeping it simple and keeping it short, and people have a short attention span and only this level of readership, reading level. It's absolutely true, and it breaks my heart you know, as a person who like tries to build stories and pictures and things with words. The fact that we need to continually cut our words just, oh, it kills me. But it's also an incredible opportunity because the act of writing, especially for social media, is now also an act of editing. And so you really need to put a lot of thought into the specific words you're using and how to build as muscular, as dense and complete and communicative a construct as possible. And so it's kind of, you know, having to limit how you use things makes you use them more powerfully, is at least the spin that I'm trying to get myself to believe, and so I'm trying to pass it all on to you. But at any rate, I'm on this mailing list, and I got an email. It's called Brain Pickings, and if you want to look it up, they just do some really beautiful stuff with language and art. And they had an essay or a snippet of essays from Susan Sontag, who's a famous writer that some of you may be familiar with. And she was talking about storytelling. And I just want to share a couple of things here to sort of give the context for the larger picture of stories. For social media, a lot of what we'll be talking about are very small pieces, very tiny stories, almost snapshot stories. But in general, think about a story as something with a beginning, a middle, and an end that takes your reader, your viewer, on a journey. And what Susan Sontag said was, a novelist is someone who takes you on a journey through space, through time. The novelist takes the reader over a gap and makes something go where it was not. Time exists so that everything doesn't happen all at once, and space exists so that it all doesn't happen to you. And I think that's the reason that jumped out at me was because when we're talking about stories, even if we're just talking about these really tiny nutshell stories, thinking about what the beginning, middle, and end is and how it exists in space and time is really important. Even if you're telling a story with only pictures, where does it take the viewer? If you're telling a story with words, what do you want to leave them with? And what is the closure you want to provide? Endings in a novel confer a kind of liberty that life stubbornly denies us, to come to a full stop that isn't and discover, especially what ends with an ask, with how they can help make that story happen more often for your organization. So that's my sort of big picture. Although we do have to reduce everything to 6th and 7th graders, I like to occasionally bring us into the high school level and talk about readers that I had a couple decades ago. So how to find your stories. Brain dump. This is something, get together with your staff, with your board, with your volunteers, and figure out highs and lows. What were some peak experiences for your organization this year, over the last few years? What were some of the major victories you had that you want to share that showed examples of what you can do more of if you have more support? Also, what were setbacks? What didn't go as well as possible? Not necessarily because we're going to go out and be like, hey, look at what we failed at this year, but because if you had had more support, if you had had those dollars you're trying to raise right now, what could have gone better? How many more people could you have helped? How many more people wouldn't have had to go to the hospital for dehydration, have perished from exposure? What could have happened? Emotional themes. Something that is always really good is to pick an emotion and think about, again, in your group, what has happened over the last year, few months that has inspired those emotions. The reason is, if you have a story that deals with emotion, that draws out that emotion in the audience, they're going to be more apt to connect with you and come back. Negative emotions, fear, pain, horror, trauma, those really work, as we see in most of our media almost every day. And depending on the nature of your work, especially if you're in social services during a time like we're in right now, that can be really powerful. to show need and dramatic pain. But stories of joy and hopefulness and feeling like we can do this, we can solve these problems, we can overcome, also go a really long way. And especially during times when it can feel like everything is coming down, showing how we can lift people up is very powerful. And then also ask someone else. Ask people who aren't directly neck deep in the work you're doing. Ask some of your supporters, community members, neighbors, friends, associates, what they think. What have they seen from your organization? What do they know? What stands out to them? You'll often be surprised. We spend a lot of time thinking about messages and what we want to put out there, and it often turns out that the thing that you thought wasn't that important, wasn't that impactful, was the thing that really resonated with folks. So ask them, what do they think, and what might be memorable moments that they think you should share. So we kind of already talked about this, what kinds of stories you can tell, overcoming adversity, I landed on that, how either we did this, with your support, here's an accomplishment that we overcame this bit of adversity. Somebody who's related to our organization was able to prevail because of your support. Solving a problem, we needed this, we got this, we succeeded. Creating a connection. Some of your organizations may be in a place where you're able to bring people together to do something really well. And then also an origin story can often be really powerful. Especially if you're a fledgling organization. How did you get started? What's your why? Why are you here? What are you doing? And where did you come from? And if you're a more established organization, you may not have told that story recently. And you may assume that a lot of people know it, but maybe they don't. Because you've been around for so long, it's an opportunity to share, this is the nut, this is the core of why we exist. And look what we've been able to do since then, but here's where we started. And related to origin stories are also the people involved in the organization. What's the origin of their involvement and their support? Whether it's a founder, a key volunteer board member, a key staff member. You can also talk about the people who make the organization go. And what can stories be used for? I've also kind of been peppering this in as we go, but stories overall, the reason that we included this is because you're not just doing Give More 24. And I know you guys are well aware of that you have an entire year's worth of work to do all the time. And so when you're thinking about Give More 24, you can also think about how you can repurpose both things you have already done that may help with Give More 24, but also with what you're doing for Give More 24, how can you use it later? If you're collecting stories, if you're creating moments and images that will resonate with your audience, how can you use those again? You may be coming up into end of year fundraising right after Give More 24, or you may have a spring fund drive and you'll be able to use a lot of this again. So think a little bit longer term. Don't think about this necessarily as just something for Give More 24, but how can it benefit the organization as a whole? And so yes, use your stories to make your fundraising more compelling and effective. Not just in the Instagram story that you're going to tell for Give More 24, but also for that letter you're going to send to donors and potential donors in just a few months. You can also acknowledge the contributions of folks who have made your organization possible. Telling their story or the story of something that they helped make successful is a way to highlight the work of your organization that doesn't just draw it onto, here's X organization and what we do, but here is Y person, and they are important because. Building stronger relationships with your staff and stakeholders, especially for larger organizations. It's easy to get lost in the laundry list of things that we do, but maybe you can also spend a little time on, again, the people who make it run. Jim mentioned early on focusing on people more than programs. You know, like we have this program that does this, 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 and this. That's great, that's wonderful information. But who are the people who, you know, at Share fill the backpacks for the backpack program? For this organization, for an arts organization, who are the people that put together the scenery? Those are what make a lot of folks interested because they're able to connect more directly with those stories. Also, shifting the culture of your organization. If you're finding yourself in a transitional period, then telling stories about what you want to have happen, about the things that are working, can help with shifting that culture on an organizational level. And then, of course, telling your leadership story and using it to inspire others to achieve similar goals in their own lives isn't just good for your fundraising, but also positions you, your board, your leadership as leaders in this arena. Yeah. That was up there for a long time, man. Okay. And so I mentioned earlier the call to action. Telling stories is great. We also acknowledge that you're doing Give More 24 to fundraise. So whether you are doing this for Give More 24 or for your social media in general or the other work that you do, what is the call to action going to be? I mean, that's pretty crucial for Give More 24. We know it's click here, donate here. In general, you always want to make sure, especially with social media, that you do have a call to action. And it may not always be donate. It may be like our Facebook page. Right now, as you're gearing up for Give More 24, that's what you want people to do. Like your Facebook, get onto your Instagram. You want to build the audience that you're going to be communicating with as Give More 24 comes up. So think about what you want people to do and then ask them to do it is the really important part. Something that comes up over and over with fundraising in general, but certainly with social media. We can't just expect that people are going to do the thing we want them to do. We actually need to be very clear about telling them this is what we want you to do, and then asking them to do it, and then asking them again and again. So, specific action. What specifically can they do? Click this link, donate here, get involved, sign up here, be specific. Actionable, when you make an ask, make sure that it's doable. Join with us to save the world is awesome, but not really actionable. And make sure that it's meaningful. Asking them to click and like your Facebook page is a meaningful thing. When you're asking people to support you, make sure that it is something that does matter to your organization, that will make them feel like they're a part of something. So when you ask them to like your Facebook page, have a Facebook page that is engaging, that will keep them there, that will keep bringing them back. When you ask them to volunteer, those of you who are volunteer coordinators already know this, give them meaningful work to do. The same applies when you're making an ask in fundraising or social media. Always make it matter so they want to do more. That is my nutshell nickel tour of storytelling, and now we have the amazing Nolan Ticino.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the new features that are on social media right now, which is our Facebook stories and Instagram stories. And how many of you have used the story platform? Not very many. Okay, so that's why we're going to talk about it. And the reason why you want to use the story platform on these two social media, Facebook and Instagram, is because as you can see, the growth in these two areas. 150 million people are using Facebook stories and Instagram stories, 300 million. And they continue to grow. It kind of came out of Snapchat. Anyone use Snapchat? How to use stories is that? So, I always said Facebook is running out of ideas, so they steal other people's ideas. And so that's where stories came from. So it's very important to really get involved and use stories, especially now, because it's like a hack where the only way to get to be seen on Facebook now is that you have to do ads, and that costs money. Well, stories pop up on your feed without any cost. It's just a matter of using it. Use it correctly, and the user or the end user receives a ping. They'll see at the very top of your screen, your news feed, that a story has come up from your organization. So that's why it's important to use it now. And of course, like anything, once it gets popular, Facebook is going to change it and make you pay for it. A lot of organizations are going to be using it, so now it's going to get lost in the feed. So it's important to be an early adopter to get your message out. So we also talked about storyboarding. Before you start using stories, I would recommend you come up with a plan. So creating a storyboard is important. So I'm going to start off with Instagram stories because it started there. And then later on, Facebook adopted it. But as you know, you may already know this, Facebook owns Instagram, so it kind of works together. So what are Facebook, or what are Instagram stories? Basically, it lets the user see a timeline of a storyboard that you created. And it's, again, it's interactive, but the number one thing, again, for me to use it, for you to use it, is that it gets pinged on top of your Instagram post. Like you'll get a notification when someone does a story. So how to create an Instagram story? Basically, if you get it on your phone, at the very top left-hand corner, you just click on that icon. And by the way, I gave this slide to Maury, so he will share it on the Give More 24 toolkit page as well. So what's awesome about these storyboards on Instagram and Facebook is that you can get really creative on it. One of the things like I said, I do is make things look pretty. So I use a lot of graphics to capture people's attention. Well, this is already embedded into the app of stories. So you can create like, fonts, create fonts to capture people's attention. You can create live video, a bunch of different ways of people can view your story.
What's a boomerang?
Boomerang is an app. Basically, it takes short video and you can like tweak it to do like slow-mo, go backwards, to repeat. It's just an app. Yeah. And it's, yeah. Stickers are fun. How many collected stickers when you're young? I use when Facebook started using stickers, a couple years ago, I would just send friends just instant message stickers, just automatic, because I think they're fun. But you can add stickers to your images. Another thing important to do is to add a location so people know where you're at. You can add hashtags onto your stories. You can do a poll, which is kind of awesome. So yeah, you can add a poll. And these are all hyperlinked, so they can like click on those two items there. So you want to kind of ROI to see how many people are viewing your stories. So when you swipe up, it will show like the number of people who have viewed, or you click on that icon there. So you want to see who's kind of checking you out, and if your story is actually gaining traction. Because you put together a story, no one sees it, that means either no one's following you or you don't have a great story to tell.
Aren't they only up for a limited?
Yeah, so yeah, good question. So stories are only up for 24 hours. So what's a very good day to start stories? Right? Give more 24. But you want to prep before you go live with this. So between now and September, kind of get storyboards out, start creating storyboards, and because you can create them now, but save them in your archive and post it later. But 24 hours is the time limit, but you can repost later. So Instagram has things called highlights. So if I went to your profile, you can add a storyboard to your profile. So if you typed in like give more 24 or donate or as a topic, that can stick to your your profile page. And you have to, in order to do that, you have to kind of give it your settings, and then it'll look like that. Size matters, so that's the size for a good image. 1080 by 920. So, now brainstorming. How will you use stories, Instagram stories, for Get More 24? And this is where I have audience participation. You know, I'm a firm believer of, you know, here we are, Temple, Jim, and I, stand here, talk about stuff. But as a collective whole, we're a better team. So I want to get everyone to be engaged and kind of shout out how will you use Instagram stories to get people to donate to your cause and get more followers, basically. Go.
Wait, I have a question first.
Okay.
Yep. I'm going to see if you want to go first. So what you just told us about Instagram stories, pretty much the same thing as we could do with our Facebook.
I'll talk about that.
Okay.
That's next. Yes.
We're doing a history trivia happy hour during Get More 24. So on the thing would be a history question. What are the two panels or something like that? I would say, you're a piece and you can join us. Here's the people in the bar.
Okay, so the question was, or the answer was that, how do you say it? Because we have people online that are listening to this.
So we are going to be doing history trivia happy hour during Get More 24. So during the history trivia, we'll be showing people at the bar. We'll be having questions up on Instagram and Facebook to kind of say, do polls, stuff like that, add stickers, come on down and invite people to give.
That's a great idea. Any other?
Yes, we're going to try and really go after the business community this time, because we're a program that puts sculptures downtown, and we look at it as a business development project. So we want to really, this time, pull the business communities in for support. So one thing that just occurred to me is we could do posts of businesses that are giving during a 24-hour period a sale item or a giveaway item.
That's awesome. You can say, well, this business gave, so you have a timeline of, you know, different businesses that gave, and hopefully at the end, you'll have like a big donate button. You too, right?
So we have groups coming to free classes down at the park on like yoga, Pilates, meditation. So using all of our social media to show, you know, this is happening now, or even better, a shot of a child in the audience participating, or things like that to kind of get people to come down, get people to click donate, get people to share.
So when you give me an example, I wanted you to give me 5 images. So image number 1, so what's your example? Image number 1, this is your storyboard. Image number 1, what are you going to show?
Image number 1 might be the instructor, whether they're up on the stage or down in the grass. Image number 2 might be the crowd that's there participating. Image number 3 may be an individual that's down in the park relaxing off to the side, just kind of soaking up that vibe of what's happening in the park. Image number 4, am I at 4 now? 5? Maybe kids participating off to the side. And so just like, you know, these good vibes are going all through this whole park, whether you're participating or just sitting and watching or walking by going, what are they doing over there?
Great. Anybody else?
Quick question.
Question?
On Instagram versus Facebook, why both? What is one
Both.
better than the other?
Both.
You have to have both,
Because not everyone's on Instagram, not everyone's on Facebook.
but when you're one person trying to do it all.
They're interconnected. You can post onto Instagram, it automatically get posted on Facebook.
Okay.
And just a reminder, we do want everyone to use the microphone just because we have people online, so they can hear.
Any more ideas that they want to share? It's now share time.
They're scared of the mic.
Oh, that is. All right, we're gonna move on then. Give you another opportunity to share. So Facebook stories. It's similar, very similar to Instagram stories. Like I said, Facebook owns Instagram. So again, 24 hours, that's the time period. Facebook stories. And to view stories, at the very top of your timeline, you'll see there's those circles, the icons. That's where the stories live. So if you want to view someone's story to kind of see examples, that's where you would go. So how to create a Facebook story? There's two ways. Like say you click on the top of the storyboard where it says stories, or if you're on a page, your nonprofit page, if you go to your, and this is all mobile here. If you go to your nonprofit page, you should see a create story tab. Now, again, because this is kind of new for Facebook, not all Facebook pages have stories yet. So if you're one of the lucky few, that's awesome. But I can show you another way how to get into that. Because I like you. All right. So here's another way. If you don't have that tab for your page, and this is all mobile, so you start off with your Facebook page, or your personal Facebook account, then you swipe right, because you like it, and then automatically this camera comes up, and then I click on either text or video or whatever you want to create, then you start creating your story. Once you create your story, don't hit your story, hit next, all right? What it does gets you to this part, this screen, and if you're an admin of a page, it will get you to this. So you want to change your, from your personal to the page, which gets to this. And so these are some of the pages that I'm an admin for. And anyway, basically you click on whatever page you're going to be posting as, and that's how you create your story. So that's like a hack of how to, if you don't have it on your Facebook page, here's another way to post a story onto your Facebook page. Question?
Can you post a story on a group?
Yes, you can. Yep. So, what's an example here? Yep, right here. See? Group stories. So if you're a part of a group, you can post it as a group. We got a mic coming.
Can you do a story from your page manager versus doing it from your personal account?
Yes, I just talked about that. So,
So I can't find it online, so
yeah, so if you're not, so this is the page. So if you don't have this part,
yeah.
create a story on your page, then you have to go the other way. You have to go this way. From your personal account, this is my personal account.
So not from the page manager app, is what I'm asking.
No.
So I have to go, like, when I go on Facebook on my phone, it's fine, but if I go to the top first to
Swipe right. Right? Do we all want to try this?
Yeah.
All right. Pull out your phone.
Right here.
For those who are not here today, you're missing out. All right, so we're on our Facebook page, personal Facebook page. We swipe right. Want to swipe right? So, and if you're not, and it could be because, swipe left?
I think they're saying, if you swipe right or left, start from the left side of the screen.
Oh, you swipe right. Yeah.
Mine doesn't swipe either way.
Okay, and it could be because of where we're at. The college has a block on social media. Like none of us could get on Facebook today here. So you swipe right, camera comes up. Just follow these steps, and I'll give you like 3 minutes to kind of, if you have any questions, just holler.
How many pictures can you add?
Yes. Wait, oh.
On the Instagram story, how do you get the text that has the block behind it? Like if you're, because the back is colored and you want the text to have a block behind it so you can read the text.
So having like color behind the text so it stands out, so it pops.
Oh, so it's under text. It should be under text, or it could be a sticker. Do you see a sticker? And I can help you after this too. Yes?
Is there a time, what's the standard length, or is there a maximum length or maximum number of pictures?
I would like use between 5 to 8 because again we talked about the attention span, right? The goldfish. And the more you have, the more I'm gonna sit there and want to see what's the next slide gonna be. So, and I was going to try to show an example of some nonprofits that have stories up there. They're really engaging. I mean, I like to watch all of them because I want to know what's the next slide going to be.
How do you add another picture to that? Because it won't let me do any but one.
It comes, so,
I'm on our page.
as your page.
As our page, it just lets me add one to go to next.
So can you go up, swipe up?
And then I get these.
So go to your, okay, I'll get back. All right, I'm going to kind of move on and we're going to ask questions at the end. So, who can share on stories on Facebook? Basically, anyone you're connected to as a friend can see this. And like I said, the hack is it gets popped up to the top of your newsfeed. Camera effects? How many people use those? Those things are awesome. All right, and again, if you want to see a story, you'll see at the very top of your news feed those little circle icons. Click one of those. Let's see here. Oh, so again, the easiest way to get a story up onto Facebook is to get connected from your Instagram account to Facebook. That's the easiest way. And in order to do that, you have to get into Instagram and make sure your settings are correct. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about how can you use Facebook stories to get more donors to donate to you on Give More 24. Any suggestions? Any tips? Anyone want to share? The question is like we want to talk about how are you going to use the Facebook stories to get more people to engage in your social media platforms for Give More 24. Other than those were the examples that we had earlier. You're all thinking.
I'm from the Kelso Public Schools Foundation, and one of our donor pools that we hit the best with is our alumni. So this year I'm going to try a class challenge. See which one of our graduating classes can come up with the most support, money, whatever.
Yeah.
Because it still goes back to the game. You know, they all want to be better than the year before, the year coming up. So that's what we have. And, you know, we've got such a small pool of followers, but Kelso's been there since 1921, graduating kids. So we still have a lot to go back and pull from.
Yep, Michelle.
We successfully doubled our income this year, and so we've made it a point this summer to be working to get our taxes done before November 15th, before Give More 24, so GuideStar will reflect that.
That's a hack. How about doing like, like a numbered list? Like step 1, go to the webpage. Step 2, pull out your wallet. Step 3, just do these steps how to donate. That's another way of doing it. Another way is to like, doing something about, here's Billy. Billy lives in this house. Billy doesn't have this. You can provide this to Billy by doing this. Just steps, simple steps. Or something about what your organization does. This is like maybe share house. This is the share house. These are some of the living quarters. This is something we do at share house. Just telling your story about your organization is going to really help. But I think that's the last one I have. But again, the number one thing about stories and getting involved in stories is that it's a hack to get seen on social media without paying for it. And you want to become an early adopter, like I said, to do this, because once it gets flooded, then you can get lost. And I think Give More 24 is a great time to start this, because that Facebook or those stories are only live for 24 hours. So not to say that you can't do more stories, but kind of think about that 24-hour mindset.
Do you suggest doing a mixture of stories or?
Yes, no, I would do mixtures. Because every time you do a new story, it gets popped up. Right? And that's what you're trying to do, get seen. So, Jim.
Yeah, so quick question about best practices with stories. What is the, should we be posting stories every day? Is it every few days? And with that, do we, because right now, it's kind of like our normal posts are on a daily schedule. And so does that counteract that at all?
I would do it every day, right now, for practice. Every day. Because if you look at your current posts right now, how much engagement are you getting? Because how many people are seeing it first? Right? And if you're not getting a lot of engagement because people are not seeing it. And so the way the algorithm work on Facebook is that it's now becoming, you see those commercials now, it's now being all personal, what your friends are doing, and all because of the political climate that we had a couple years ago. So yeah, I would do it now to start practicing, because the day of, you're going to go full on speed on. And because another thing too, like I said, you can share, or you can save those stories into your archive, and you can reuse them. So you already got in your bank all these different stories that you already created. Yeah.
I'm with Girls Inc. and I had an idea to get some of the girls in our program to create their own stories.
Yes.
You have to be an admin in order to create the story on that page or group page, or can they save them and then send them to us?
You have to be an admin.
Okay, but I could go to their page and share their stories?
I don't think so, because that'd be created from the page itself. They can tag you. Or you can use like a hashtag and follow that. But it has to come from you. You have to. It's kind of like. So the thing with stories that it's like the minimal interaction. The only way to interact is like it's a direct message. So it's not like a regular post where everyone sees it and you can share it that way. You can share it, but you still control the message. Rather they, like you can't grab it from them, because you're a page. Right.
They can storyboard.
They can storyboard for you. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So we're here till, I think our time is up. So we're gonna hang around for a little bit. If you have any questions, again, how many first timers? There's a lot of new people I've seen. That's awesome. So I think the next few moments here, once we're done, that you're gonna have the opportunity to share some ideas, best practices from those who participated in the past. It's super fun if you've never been part of it. The day is chaotic, but I think the most successful ones I've seen out there are the organizations who are very creative, who are very engaged, who have a strategy. You know, Temple talked about not just think about Give More 24 as a one-day thing. Think about it as your basically plan for the year, because you can use some of these best practices for other fundraising events as well too. But yeah, it's a great day. Pro tip: think about the prizes. You know, there's all these prizes you can get extra money from the Community Foundation every hour, just about. What else? But it's just a fun day. Just make it fun. If you're fun, you post things that are fun on social media, people are going to think of you as a great organization to be part of. So again, thank you for having us here today. And again, if we have any questions, we'll stick around for a little bit.